everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Leslie. For those of you who are new, welcome. For those of you who have already subscribed, welcome back and thank you so much for joining me. Well, today it's holiday season and I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to decorate just a plain green evergreen Christmas tree. I want to flock it, and flock trees can be extremely expensive. I didn't want to pay that, so I ended up getting a tree on sale back in July. And I just got a basic smaller tree because I'm not trying to make my life any more difficult, especially with all that's going on. And so I wanted to go a little smaller. So I decided to downsize this holiday season. And I just purchased a 6-foot, I believe this is a Stratford spruce tree. So we're going to decorate that. Now, when it comes to flocking, I will not be flocking outside as it's very, very windy. But I did take some extra precautions to make sure that we were able to have an easier cleanup and keep down on mess. So I just want to show you some things that I will be using today, and maybe it can help you. You want to wear shoes that you don't mind getting dirty, but also I'm going to be using these shoe covers that I have. You also want to wear clothes that you don't mind either having to throw away, but you don't want to wear anything new because this can get a little messy. So I've got an old t-shirt and some old black pants that I've got on. The most important thing you're going to use is a spray bottle filled up with water, and you're also going to need some gloves. The next thing we're going to be using is I've got a sifter here, which you'll need to sift the snow flock onto your tree. I have an aerator, and this is very important. You're going to need this because every crafter is walking around with an aerator in their home. But no, seriously, I've had this for quite some time. You can also use the mask. Trust, we've got plenty of masks going around, don't we? And then, of course, I've got the pure white snow flock. This is a 2-pound bag that I'm going to be using for this 6-foot tree. This should be more than enough to do this 6-foot tree. So also I wanted to show you, you don't have to go out and buy a whole lot of things. I want you to look at the covering. I've got an old dust ruffle that I'm using as like my makeshift drop cloth. It is for a king size bed, so you can see that it's more than ample to cover the floor to catch any of the flocking that's gonna fall off as we're sifting it onto the tree. And then I also used some cardboard. This came with the box that the Christmas tree came out of. And underneath, around the perimeter of the tree, I've got those old towels that I have repurposed from when I cleaned out my linen closet. So guys, that's what you're gonna need. Without further ado, guys, let's get flocked up. Okay, so what I'm doing now, per the instructions on the bag, I am giving the branches a good misting of water. Now I am starting on the base layer of my tree. This is going to make it easier for me to make sure I get all of the branches covered with the snow flock. And so if you remember these things, spray, flock, spray, seal, spray, flock, spray, seal. So now I am flocking the tree, and you will see that after I am flocking, I'm spraying over the area that I just flocked. That's just to activate the adhesive that's in that snow flock so that it will stick to the branches. I'm just gonna fill up my sifter with more flock, and so I'm spraying now, and then I will flock again, and then I will spray over that. Now, this particular sifter that I chose to use is an old school sifter. It reminds me of the one that my grandmother used when I was growing up as a little girl, but I'm pretty sure she would not be happy about me using a good sifter like this and wasting it on a craft project. But please believe me, it is well worth it. It made it so much easier as opposed to using the other type of sifter where you have to kind of tap it with your hand. Because with this particular flour sifter, I was able to place exactly where I wanted the flock to go, and I was able to get in between the branches as we go higher in the tree, and you'll be able to see that later on in the video. So I am once again sifting, spraying again, sifting if I see some gaps, and then I will spray. And so I am dumping the extra particles of like glitter that cannot go through the sieve. I'm actually dumping those, and so that's actually it actually will give the look of a nice snowfall with a glistening effect on the tips of the leaves. So right now you will see me concentrating on the tips of the leaves, and I am doing that because in nature, when there's a real snowfall, the snow actually accumulates on the tips of the leaves. And for anyone who lives in cold climates, and for those of us who are not as fortunate who live in warmer climates, that is so beautiful to see during the winter time. And so I wanted to emulate that. So now we are moving on to the second section, and I am fluffing the branches and getting those arranged before I start my flocking. That's so important because once I begin to flock and then once I seal, I want to have as less manipulation to the branches as possible, because we really don't want to disturb the flocking that we just so diligently put on our tree. What you see me doing here is just wrapping the power cord up so that it won't get wet. Okay, so now we're going to give this section a good mist, and we want to make sure all those branches are saturated with our water so that it will be able to make the snow flock stick to the branches. And I am making sure when you do it in sections like this, guys, this really ensures that you're going to get the look that you are striving for a flock tree, because you're taking your time and literally you're going section by section. Now, I only have a 6-foot tree, thank goodness, this year. I'm only doing a 6-foot tree, but this type of method would be perfect, especially if you're dealing with 9-foot trees and taller. I think you cannot go wrong with sections. It'll make your cleanup much easier. It'll make your life much easier. You can thank me later, but this is working out really well. And now I'm just gonna go in with the flock. I'm gonna spray and then I'm gonna flock. And so if you think that I'm losing product with the flock, actually I'm not. What you're seeing here is when I'm flocking on that second tier, it's actually dropping down to the base tier. So it's actually getting inside of the inside branches of the tree that maybe I did not get. So that's what you're gonna be seeing right now. Okay, so just in case you're wondering, when I am flocking, remember I chose not to do my tree outside in the elements. It's windy. I didn't want to waste a lot of product. I didn't want a lot of mess in my yard. I wanted to keep it contained. So when I did my tree inside in the foyer, I actually turned off the air conditioning unit. It's kind of warm down here still, so we do have our AC. So I turn on the AC. So what you're seeing right now is that when I am positioning the sifter over that tree, the flock is actually coming straight down into the branches. You don't see anything flying around. It's just going straight to the branches, going from the second tier down to the base of the tree, and nothing's flying around. We're not losing product. Any product that's not being grabbed on the branches that I'm actually sifting on is actually being caught by the lower branches. So you don't have to worry about losing any product. You can even look at my clothes and see that I don't really have a lot of product on my clothes either. I think this was the best method for me, considering how it is outside. And it's something to think about. You're not going to always have perfect weather. Sometimes it's going to be raining. Sometimes it can be a little more chillier. Maybe you don't want to make a mess in your garage, but I did it right here in my foyer, and I made sure I took all the precautions and to make sure that I would keep as minimal of a mess as possible. And so you can see that as I am sifting, those branches are catching that leftover product. Okay, we are in the final stretch. This is the third tier, and I am fluffing out the branches once again, making sure everything is going to be in the best placement so that I can have as little manipulation as possible once I have finished flocking the tree and once the tree has dried. So let's talk about time. From the time it took for us to drag the box from the basement to setting up the tree, and actually you saw me set it up in the video, so it came straight out of the box. It was still wrapped up in its sections. Guys, this took no longer than an hour. So when I tell you, when you're thinking about money, labor, and time, this was a recipe for sweet success. So now I am just spraying and then I'm flocking, and this is the top level. I will eventually have to get a step stool because clearly I am not 6 feet, but I'm going to try to do as much as I can now with those lower branches and get those lower branches to make sure that I have enough product to get the look that I so desire. And once again, whatever is not being grabbed by those branches, it's falling onto the branches below it. So we are not losing product. Also, in case you're wondering, if your branches aren't as white as you would like them to be, you do have the liberty to go back and hit some of the spots that maybe have a little more green poking out. You can go back and redo it. Just remember to spray, flock, spray, and seal. Just continue to do that process. So I actually did that 2 to 3 times in certain areas, as a matter of fact. Especially on the tips, that was so important to make sure I got those tips really coated with that flock, because I like that look of freshly fallen snow on the tips of evergreen trees. I think it's absolutely stunning. And see, right here is what I'm talking about. I'm just going back over the tree, making sure I get all of those tips. And then I'm moving it back upwards. I'm seeing where I have some spaces that I've missed. I want to make sure that this section, this is the upper section, but I want to make sure those lower branches of the upper section are well coated with the snow flock. Okay, I just want to talk about the 3M respirator mask that I am wearing. Everyone might not have a mask like this, but I am so glad that I found this in my stash, because when I tell you, it made this project so much easier. And I had forgotten to put on my mask at the beginning, and boy, those little things got into my lungs. It was not a pleasant experience at all. So I grabbed my mask, put it on. I think this is also what's making the time go by quicker, because it's allowing me to work more efficiently. I have this video sped up, but I'm actually moving fast. When I tell you that this project with flocking this tree did not take longer than 45 minutes, 45 minutes, it didn't. It made it just go so fast because I had the proper equipment to make sure that I was safe, to make sure that my breathing wasn't affected. It allowed me to work more efficiently. So that's something that you want to keep in mind as well. Maybe a simple cloth mask might not be the best for some people who suffer with lung conditions. So if that is you, please consider using a respirator mask, because it will give you the added protection that you need. So this is the part where I actually had to grab the step stool, and so it allowed me to get right up at the crown of the tree and just sprinkle the flock. And here is a close-up of those tips that I was telling you about that I'm actually obsessed about. See how white I was able to get those tips when we got a close-up shot? That's how the tree looks with the first layer. Now we're going to go back in and we are going to seal the tree with a mixture of glue and hot water using the same water bottle. I've got about 2 tablespoons of Elmer's glue to about 7 ounces of water, and I am just misting the tree with that solution. What that is going to do is just provide an extra coating of adhesive to make sure that that flock stays in place, so when you do have to move it, you won't have flock going everywhere. Where some people do complain that when they did have to move their tree, a lot of flock fell off of the tree. So this is just a double layer of protection to make sure that your flock stays in place. Final thoughts on the snow flock. I am so impressed with this product. If you have been contemplating about flocking your tree on your own, do not hesitate. Do it. Money well spent, very inexpensive, but you get such a big bang. Now, I used 2 pounds and I still got about a little less than half of the bag left. So this 2 pounds is more than enough for a 6-foot tree. However, if you have a 9-foot tree or taller, and I'm normally used to working with really large trees, normally 12 feet to 14 feet when I'm designing them, you would need probably about a 5-pound bag, but a 2-pound bag was more than enough for this 6-foot tree. And so for many people who said that you cannot do it in a house, let me tell you, you all have watched me. It is doable. You need to make sure that you have enough covering on your floor and give yourself enough space so that if there's any flyaway, it will be caught either on your covering, a tarp, and it won't get into your floor carpet. But the one thing I do want to tell you that you are absolutely gonna need is this. You are going to need this respirator because you don't want to deal with a particle like this that is so small. Yes, you have large bits, but there are so many small particles that we can't even see the dust. I actually did it like the first couple of sprays. I had forgotten to put my respirator on, and no, absolutely no. You're gonna need a respirator, you're gonna need an N95 mask or an equivalent, or even if you don't have that, guys, if you've just got the regular blue disposable medical mask that so many people are wearing, use that. But do not try and flock your tree without the necessary protective equipment. That is not going to be good for your health, especially if you're compromised and you suffer with allergies or asthma, or if you have children or pets that could be affected too. So make sure your pets are out of the way. Make sure that your kids are also protected as well, and they're wearing a mask or some other protective nose covering if they're going to be in the same vicinity when you are flocking your tree. So yes, you can do this indoors. This is gonna be so much easier because we're gonna move from the foyer, and I have a tall foyer. So if you've got a larger tree, you may think about doing this in your foyer. I'm just gonna move this from the foyer over into the family room in a corner, and that's gonna be so much easier for transport. So I don't want people to be dismayed thinking that they cannot do this in their home. You just need to have the right protective covering for your face, okay? And then you need to have the right protective flooring to make sure that your precious belongings are cared for. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you found it useful and if you'd like to see more interesting and entertaining content by me, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. It is always warmly welcome here on the channel. Don't forget to press the notification bell, as I will be showing a finished product of what this tree will look like once it's in its proper place and fully decorated, guys. So until next time, be good to yourself and one another. I'll see you soon. Happy holidays. Bye.